So, we're taking leaders' questions under Standing Order 29, and I call on Deputy Derek O'Leary, please.
Thank you, Controller. Acknowledge that there's been very little new developments in relation to Brexit since yesterday. I know the House will have a chance to discuss the current situation later. However, last year the Government promised that one of the key responses to Brexit will be Ireland 2040 and the capital plans associated with that document. However, yesterday, amidst all the drama, Minister Donoghue was at Budget Oversight Committee and he unveiled to that committee that there would be a necessity to change many of the key capital plans, the start dates and potentially the scale of them, owing to rising costs and labour shortages. He spoke specifically about the lack of skilled workers in construction. He mentioned particularly electrical engineers. He spoke about the challenge of capital projects across Europe and the competition for labour and for contractors. And he said to the committee, as we move through 2019, this will have to be a factor in capital project decisions we make. And because we were seeing higher tender prices than expected, this is having an impact on the public budget. And he has now outlined a review process. At the same time, as he was at committee, the chairman and the project director of the new Children's Hospital were at the Health Committee, outlining the disaster that is the management of that particular project. This, a project that was meant to cost and was budgeted for 650 million, now may cost 2 billion and maybe higher. And what was very clear yesterday, and was pointed out by my colleague Deputy Donnelly, is that those in charge of the project neither seem to understand the costs or understand where this will end up. And the chairman and the director were unable to outline what the premium, the extra costs for building the hospital on the confirmed site was. So we're now looking at that overrunning by about a billion to 1.5 billion. That money has to come from other capital projects, so it's another pressure on capital budgets, particularly within health. So we were told 2040 was the great panacea for all our ills, but it's now turned out to be built on a hill of beans. How did the Government allow, and why was the Government, and why was the Minister in particular, so asleep at the wheel while costs went so catastrophically out of control in the National Children's Hospital? What other key projects in the capital plan are under threat? Our launch dates are under threat because of cost overruns. I refer to the National Broadband Plan. How much over cost is that currently running? Will key projects such as Dublin Metro run to schedule? And when will the review that the Minister announced yesterday be completed? And will it be published with the same fanfare as Ireland 2040? I doubt it.
Thank you.
Deputy, I didn't listen to Minister Donoghue's contribution yesterday, but I expect it was the kind of contribution that you expect from Minister Donoghue, which is to outline the practical realities of how you manage a plan to spend €114 billion over 10 years to significantly improve infrastructure across the country, from schools to hospitals to roads to flood protection systems and so on. And what we have done for the first time as a government is to actually outline a 10-year plan for capital expenditure, which of course will have challenges along the way, which will require review mechanisms, which will require us to respond to potential shortages in terms of skills in different areas, particularly around construction, for obvious reasons at the moment, in terms of housing challenges and so on, in terms of what we need to build and how quickly we need to do that. And I think it would be very strange if a Minister for Finance wasn't outlining the challenges we face in actually delivering the potential of a plan with the level of ambition that Ireland 2040 actually has, which, by the way, is a 20-year planning framework, the first 10 years of which we've outlined how we want to spend capital and where we want to spend it, so that we actually have medium to long-term planning in place so that we can deal with the kind of challenges, whether that's around construction cost inflation, or indeed the skills that we need to deliver on that, or the planning systems that we may need to alter and change and improve and amend to actually get that work done. That's the whole point of 10-year planning. So the idea that you will announce €114 billion of expenditure and there will be no challenges in terms of adapting and changing and improving delivery systems over that decade-long period. When you have to take in factors like, for example, contingency planning around Brexit, which we're currently dealing with, or indeed other pressures on the system, is not realistic. So don't try to create an impression that a hugely ambitious development plan for the country is somehow not deliverable because there are some challenges and blockages that we need to overcome, which was always going to be the case if you're going to deliver on the potential of the Ireland 2040 plan. I don't think that that's dealing in reality, Deputy.
Cleary.
The only people not dealing in reality, Taoiseach, this morning is you. Give an answer like that. We're not even 1 year into this plan. Yes, I accept it's a 10-year plan or possibly a 20-year plan. We're not even 1 year into it, and one project alone, one project is overrunning its initial cost by €1.5 billion. It is going to be, on a per-bed basis, twice as expensive as the most expensive hospital ever built in the world. One project in this plan. What about all the other projects? How much is the National Broadband Scheme going to overrun what was announced last February? Projects are overrunning their costs. These are not practical difficulties. This was a plan that, when it was published, was fanfare, roadshows, spin, spin, spin. But the substance in it has now been exposed as completely lacking. The commitments made to communities around the country are now under threat. The commitments of capital improvements as a response to Brexit are now under threat because of the lack of planning and foresight in the first place. The rush was to publish the document, no planning behind it, no substance within it. And the National Children's Hospital is the first project to expose that lack of planning, to expose that lack of substance.
Thank you, Deputy.
How many other projects within Ireland 2040 are in the same position? Answer that question.
Deputy, Fianna Fáil's record on the National Children's Hospital isn't one to write home about. But let me say, the Children's Hospital was being planned for long before the Ireland 2040 plan was signed off on. The Minister for Health advised the Government in December that the overall cost to complete the National Children's Hospital project is 1.433 billion, 450 million more than advised to Government in April 2017, when the Government gave the green light for the construction of the hospital. 319 million of additional costs relate to construction costs, and the balance 131 million, which includes 50 million of VAT, relates to costs associated with staff, consultants, planning, design team fees, risk and contingency planning, and so on. It's very clear that Government isn't happy with the fact that the cost of this hospital has clearly increased. There are many other projects that are being delivered on time and within budget. And the capital expenditure programme that we are now managing is increasing by about 1.4 billion this year alone. There's a 24% increase in 1 year in capital expenditure, accepting and recognising the underinvestment in capital for the last decade for reasons that we all understand. And so, as we ratchet up and increase expenditure, of course we need to keep costs under control. The National Children's Hospital is a good example of that not happening. But there are many, many other examples of costs being managed accurately and projects being delivered on time.
Deputy Pearce Doherty.